Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Alex David, the chair of the Transportation Aesthetic Review Committee, and we are having a virtual workshop today, as we have been for the last several months. Today is September 15th, and we are starting the meeting at 4:02. So I'd like to have the other members introduce themselves, starting with Juan.
Juan Crespi, member.
Thank you.
Hi, Debbie Swain, Vice Chair and member.
Arnold Hyacinth, top member.
Okay, thank you. Oscar?
Oscar Camille, Miami-Dade TPO TARC coordinator.
Okay, and is there anyone else on to present this item?
I saw Harry Belton and Matey Medina in the participants list.
Yes, we're here.
Okay.
Harry, could you introduce yourself?
This is Harry Belton. I'm the designer of record for the project we're going to be looking at today.
Okay. And Mete?
Hi, Maite Medina. I am a project manager for FDOT District 6.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you very much. So again, this is a workshop. So what we're going to be discussing today is just an informational item concerning State Road 997, which is Chrome Avenue. And the project that we'll be looking at is from 296th Street on the south, north to 232nd Street. So with that, I'll turn it over to the presenters.
Sure.
Yes, one moment. All right, hi everyone. My name is Maite Medina and I am a new project manager for the Florida Department of Transportation District 6. Today we will be presenting our project as you introduced. It's a landscape beautification project, FM number 438034-1, and it's along State Road 997, Chrome Avenue, from Southwest 296th Street to Southwest 232nd Street. And Harry Belton, who you've already met, and he introduced himself from Atkins, will be going ahead and doing this presentation. Harry, go ahead.
Okay. This is a project some of you may have seen the other phase of it just to the north of this one. This is a continuation of the same type of project. I mean, it's just the same road. A lot of the conditions are the same. However, this one is the 3.67 miles to the south of that, going from 296, which is about where the city limits of Homestead, the northern city limits of Homestead, and then into the county here through the Redlands up to 232nd Street. This one has a lot of the same kind of characteristics as the other one, and we will look at that in the next slide, I believe. Oh, this is just a description of the project. As you know, this is only about aesthetics. This is only about landscaping. That's it. And that we've already talked about the limits and the existing conditions. This one, the widening project has been completed just recently. And so that is all complete. And where they created a median. And also there was a, not as part of this corridor is a mixed use recreational path along the west side of the roadway. And then the areas on either side are what was existing there before, which is mostly farmland, some fruit stands, lots of nurseries, and a few commercial businesses, not a whole lot. Most of it's agricultural area. And again, this is the reason it was widened from 2 lanes to 4 lanes. This is a major north-south route for Western Miami-Dade County, as you know, going through the Redlands. This is the main artery going through the Redlands. The next slide. This is the dates that are associated with this project. We began working on this project in February. It is going to, Right now, we are at almost the plan's complete phase. We're not, that's in 2 months. And it will go out to bid in January of next year. Construction should be through the spring and summer of next year. And then the overall project budget that was assigned for landscaping on this project is $962,000. Just sort of a context, you're probably familiar with the Redlands out there, a lot of farmland and either for crops, truck farms, things like that, growing vegetables, and for tree farms. There's a lot of tree farms out there too, mostly for palms and tropicals. That one of the few places in the state where we have lots of commercial nurseries for tropical plant materials. Those are the main agricultural things that are going on out there. The next slide talks about some of the commercial interests that are going out there. There's some fruit stands like you see on the left here. These are serving local foods and local produce that is being grown around in the Redlands and available for not only locals, but tourists as they come through this area. And also, as you see, the picture on the right is one of the nurseries there growing specialty items like bromeliads and orchids and different things like that, that citizens of Dade County can come out and buy specialty items, nursery items for their yard and for their properties. And of course, there's also, like on the previous slide, the big wholesale nurseries that supply a lot of the development in South Florida. And on the next slide, there is a few commercial areas. These are, it's usually around a gas pump or something like that, but there are restaurants and convenience stores and a little bit of retail for servicing the community out there, banks and stuff like that, but mostly it's retail and fueling facilities. And that's it. What our design goals, similar to what we're looking at that's going on out there, is of course, as a DOT facility, we want to ensure that there's plenty of safety for both motorists, pedestrians, and the mixed-use trail that's going along out there. We wanted to make sure that our development of the aesthetics in here reflected the unique identity of this part of Chrome. This is the southern part of Chrome where you're getting a little bit more activity for these nurseries and fruit stands and things like that, as well as the agricultural areas. We want to make sure that both the trail users and the motorists our treatment is improving the situation for them. And we wanted to create some kind of consistency for this corridor that sort of unifies a lot of the disparate commercial activities that are going on there. And mitigate the increased visual impact of a widened road. It was only a 2-lane road, a much more rural feel to it. This landscaping is hoping to mitigate some of that extra pavement and as well as work with those businesses that are along the corridor there and enhance their economic viability, that they can continue to do good business. The images on the right are sort of typical images, like the one on the top right is a classic rural kind of landscape treatment. Trees acting as windrows and edges to big agricultural lands, and the roadway travels along that same line of trees. And also the classic Florida tourist attraction where they're able to get some of our fresh produce. It's available only here, particularly down in the Redlands. A lot of stuff that's only available in tropical Dade County. So we wanted to make sure we captured some of those classic type images in our development of the landscape. Next slide. This is our treatment. It's pretty much the same for the entire corridor. There's a little bit of difference between the farmland areas, whereas in the previous slide, we talked about using big shade trees to sort of line the big agricultural fields. And we use more shade trees on both sides. Now on the left side, this is looking north, so that's the west side of the corridor. We have some nice overhead power lines, so we're not allowed to we can't put in big trees. We got to help work with utilities to make sure the power gets to everybody out there. So we're only using smaller shade trees, but we still wanted to do some kind of impact for the mixed use path users. Give them some shade and protection as they're using that path. The one good thing about the redevelopment of this road is when they redeveloped it, instead of putting a single guardrail down the middle, they put a split guardrail that allows us to plant large scale trees in the median, which will make a huge impact on this roadway. And what we use there is mostly a lot of our native large palms to really work with the scale of this new roadway and make a larger impact. And along with the tropicalness of our palm trees, we wanted to add a lot of tropical flowering trees. Now those aren't native, but a lot of the character out here is not necessarily native. It's very exotic and tropical, and we wanted to really pick up on that uniqueness of this area right here of Chrome. This is the farmland area, and the next slide is more of our retail area where we're using a little bit more palms than shade trees that allow good visibility to the businesses that are along this corridor, and also that maybe more flowering trees on the west side where the power lines are, to give a little bit more of excitement and attention to our business owners out there, and like I say, increase their economic viability. But that's pretty much the two types of typical treatments. It's still the same in the median. Lots of tropical looking material to really make an impact for the users out there. This is our plant list. We have a few shade trees out there that we're using. We're not using all different kinds. We want to try to provide some order and consistency to this corridor. Our big shade trees are the ones that are going to grow well, mostly mahogany and gumbo limbo. And then we'll have some areas where we have the shortleaf fig and native ficus that'll give some texture and some bright color to, or not color, but shiny foliage to our shade trees. Then we use a lot of flowering trees. We're really trying to pick up that unique tropical character of this section of Chrome Avenue. And if you drive throughout the Redlands, you see a lot of tropical things out there that you don't see anywhere else in the county. And it really makes a nice impact. And we wanted to really keep with that so that we maintain that character. So our bigger trees are the shade trees and the flowering trees. And on the next slide, we'll have some of our, I believe it's our smaller trees, which are the ones going under the power lines or near the power lines that are still providing some kind of canopy, not a whole lot, but what's going to work with requirements of overhead power and still work with the users of the mixed use trail. We are proposing some of the slender palms only because of the large clear zone requirements. This is a rural highway and there are no curbs or protections like that. So there can be some motorists going off the road, and we're required to provide 36 feet of clear space for somebody who seems to lose control and drives off the road. If we put some what we call slender palms, skinny palms, whatever you want to call them, those are considered breakaway. So if a car hits them, it doesn't kill the person in the car, but it still allows us to put some kind of plant material in these large clear zone areas and have some kind of impact to the corridor. Of course, so we talked about the large palms that we're putting in the median that because of the guardrail construction, we were able to use some of these larger palms. And then we use some, we're using some Perotis palms in areas where to screen some exceptional views or give privacy to residential areas adjacent to the corridor, but still have a nice tropical character. I think that's it for the plants. Oh, these are just some images of the plants we're using. I'm sure this committee is familiar with a lot of these species, but we just wanted to go ahead and provide a look at them just so this is what we're using. These are our shade trees on this slide. The next slide is some of our smaller shade trees, some of the things we're using along the pathway, Jamaica capers and buttonwoods and stoppers. I think there's a few more on the next slide too. A few more of our smaller shade trees that we can use near power lines. And then the next slide is going to be our flowering trees. These are all different kinds. We try to get some more exotic ones out here that you're not going to see through a lot of areas around South Florida, but maybe unique to this area. So we got 3 species here, the cassias, the bombax, the cebas, and then next slide. We got even more on this one. The Lonix, of course, you're all familiar with, the queen crepe myrtles and the regular crepe myrtles too, where we are close to power lines. We still wanted to provide some flowering materials. We got poincianas, pseudobombax, to African tulip trees, yellow elder. We're really trying to get some unique color to this corridor that you don't see in a lot of places around the county. And then we go on to our palms. These are the slender ones, you know, like we were talking about, our Tychosperma and the Adenidia palms that we can use as frangible palms, the Perotis palms for screening areas next to the highway. And then there are larger palms on the next slide that we're providing in the median, our Bismarcks, Royals, and a few of, this is a type of Livistona that's going to get a little bit nicer than what most people know as Livistona palms down here. I'm not quite, and this is just the end. This is just some of our typical shots of what's going on in this section of Chrome Avenue. And that's it for the presentation. I'm not sure if there's anything else the district wants to add, but we certainly are open to questions and comments from the board.
I'll start it off if I may.
Sure.
Yep.
May I? One of our previous TARC members was a grower from Homestead area and represents growers from Homestead areas. So I'm going to echo Yvonne's voice, which is always as much native as possible. You know, support the local economy. I don't mind the blend, and I don't mind the colorful that you're bringing in that might not be locally, but in the selection or the volume of the selection, keep in mind the local growers, because they do need, to be able to sell their trees.
Yes, sir. And a lot of these, even though some of these trees are not native, these are the kinds of trees that these local growers are producing or growing. The nurserymen are growing here because this is the only place in the whole state that you can get these kind of tropical trees. And that is what's so unique about the nurseries or in the Redlands area, is that they actually can provide these trees, and do, for much of South Florida, not only Dade County, but up into Broward and Palm Beach too. So we really did want this landscape to reflect the character of what's being grown throughout the nurseries and throughout the Redlands here.
Harry, that answers my concern. Thank you.
You know, I'll echo that. I've been on Chrome Avenue over the past number of months, quite a few times, and it's just right now, it needs a lot of help. And I
Mhm.
think the color palette, it's going to be unique to this roadway, which, I really like. I think that it's going to be a beautiful road when everything starts growing in, instead of the high-speed roadway it is now.
Yes.
So one question is there any uplighting or any lighting associated with this project?
No, there is not. That is not part of the scope of the project.
Okay.
Now, of course, the businesses on either side, some of these businesses might want to include it on their own property, but it won't be within the right of way.
Well, I'm talking about as part of this, is there, and maybe someone from FDOT could answer that. Is there any lighting associated, or is that another phase, or not at all?
Hello, TARC. This is Kevin Schott, District Landscape Architect. No, the state currently does not have any lighting projects scheduled for this corridor. The roadway was recently completed, and the landscape is the follow-up project to the roadway. But currently, there's no uplighting project scheduled for future.
Okay. All right. I think that's it for my questions. Debbie and Ab, do you have?
Yeah. I have a bunch of questions.
I'm sure you do.
We're waiting for you.
Exactly.
Sorry, I'm very particular about landscaping. First of all, the large palms, I know they're used a lot in medians. I've almost gotten hit by a royal palm frond that fell when I was walking. And I know they sometimes break windshields. What kind of protection is there? Or what's the distance from traffic? I don't think it's in a location where we're in danger of people getting injured or cars getting injured. Or,
Yeah, well,
right?
certainly there's nothing near pedestrian areas.
Right.
Now these are in the median. They're not next to the roadway. Like I say, this is a rural section, meaning that there are no curbs or anything like that. So everything is placed back from the right of way. Now we do have the median has a guardrail, which allows us to actually plant larger trees along this corridor. And but the trees have the guardrail is set back slightly from the travel lane, and then the trees have to be set back from the guardrail in order for the guardrail to be maintained. So any dropping of fronds from the royal palms and the larger palms would not fall within the travel lanes.
Okay.
It would fall either on the guardrail or inside the guardrails.
Okay. The flowering trees that you showed in the medians, the poincianas in particular,
Mhm.
those are, in my opinion, maintenance problems. They drop a lot of limbs. They do get extremely large. They will grow over the traffic lanes at some point. They're very unstable in high weather events. I don't know if you all can, I know you know
Well,
what you're doing, but what was the consideration given for that?
Well, we are not using a lot of any one species when these. It's not like we're filling the whole corridor up with them.
Mhm.
Gosh, I don't know off the top of my head know how many exactly we're using in the entire corridor, but less than 10 for the entire 3-mile length. Because we wanted to get a nice mix of all different kinds of tropical trees, and really poincianas are fairly common throughout South Florida, so we didn't use a whole lot.
Okay,
We wanted to really highlight some of the things you're not going to see anywhere else.
right.
Um,
I know, I like the medium-sized trees that you identify or that you selected. Most of those are native, the Jamaican capers, the stoppers. They're wonderful, a wonderful selection. There's some that I'm not familiar with. I think even the crepe myrtles, I think that's really going to be nice. Is everything selected? I know the the Florida natives are, but is everything selected low maintenance, Florida friendly? They're going to survive with minimal maintenance?
Yes, yes. It's definitely because they're going to receive minimal maintenance.
Right.
Because we really wanted to select trees that are going to be growing out there on their own and not depending on a lot of uh, pesticides or fertilizers and things like that. And a lot of these trees are larger trees that can tolerate the soils out there, and of course, or thrive on the natural precipitation, not dependent on any kind of extra irrigation requirements. And we are very sure that these are going to perform well out
Okay.
there.
I think the only thing I really don't like, I mean, like I said, the poincianas concern me, but they're so few that's fine. They are just worrisome in high weather events. Bless you.
There's so many
Vaughn, are you
flowers.
allergic? Are you allergic to
I'm
something?
allergic. So many flowery trees. I'm getting an allergy.
Exactly. And the conversation about it.
Uh-oh.
Feedback. And the only one that I really hate, and I've said this on this committee a lot of times, are the solitaire palms.
Yes,
I
I
think,
knew that was coming.
and they are, just tall stalks with a little tiny
Well-
thing on the top. But the Christmas palms, I think that those survive that they don't appear that way for a long time. The solitaire
Mhm.
palms grow so fast that they look lovely today, but in 5 years from now, they're going to be just sticks that you don't even notice that they're palm trees.
Well, we
You
try
know,
to. Okay.
Hey, this is Kevin Schott.
Sure.
I've heard that comment several times, and I really understand where you're coming from. I want to let you know, and I want to kind of interject that a lot of times we do these installations of solitaire palms because landscape architecture, for the most part, is left a lot of times as an afterthought for these projects.
Yeah.
And the engineers really do not provide for landscape architecture. And I really would like to work with TARC on this more. I would really like to work with other committees more to try to decrease the quantity of solitaire palms and reduction areas where solitaire palms are the only thing we can put because there are the frangible material. But in order for us to do that, we really would need to work with you, which I would love to do, and other committees that may be involved in this sort of thing that would push an agenda item that on roadway provide for more areas of landscape architecture and wider planting areas, if you will, that are providing for more lateral offsets and possibly more distance and longer medians and that sort of thing, or protected medians. Now, I'm very limited in where I sit. I can't kind of create this type of thing from where I sit, but it is a concern that's being raised in many of the meetings that I have been in, and I do recognize the comments, and I just want to know, or I would like to let you know that I empathize with that and I sympathize with that, and I am willing to work with you, but it's very difficult from where the district landscape architect sits because a lot of times, again, we're not the ones that are even allowed, if you will, to make comment within the DOT to try to create an agenda that would provide for more landscape areas that would provide for a different type of landscape. And I'm sorry, that was a bit off subject, but I just want to let you know that I am listening, and it is a repeat, and I recognize that repeat comment. And I'd like to just hand it back to Harry for the response that he was going to provide on the more project specific. And at any time, if any of the TARC members wish to discuss further with me, my door is always open. Again, my name is Kevin Schott. I'm the district landscape architect. My email address is kevinschott@dot.state.fl.us. And Harry, if you would please, unless TARC has any additional comments or questions about what I've just said. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. I really appreciate that. And probably I'll reach out to you. I do a lot with native plants, native plant organizations, environmental education organizations. And so perhaps there's somewhat, something that we can come up with that is a recommendation for an alternative that achieves the goals, DOT's goals, but is not an invasive, unsightly palm. Also, just to throw it out there, there's probably some opportunity here for just some native palms, also some thatch palms or something. But I don't have a strong feeling about that in particular right now.
I just wanted to throw in real quick that the number of solitaire palms on this project are very limited. Where we are using them always is next to or in front of some of the businesses that where we wanted to create some kind of landscaping, but the only area left was within the clear zone. And like I say, that was a sort of a last resort kind of addition to the project. It was either that or nothing. It's either solitaire palms, and then usually they're fairly close together, so that you don't have solitaire palms 50 foot on center or something like that, which is kind of crazy. They're more like 20 to 15 to 20 feet on center, just to create some kind of landscape relief in areas where we could do nothing else. But it's very limited. Like I said, I don't know how there's no more than I would say more than 24 on the entire project.
Okay. And then lastly, our committee also looks at, as Alex was asking about, lighting, but also surfaces, signage, that sort of thing. I guess it looks like the mixed use path is just asphalt, the roadway is just asphalt. The median has guardrails, but it sounds like all of the improvements and aesthetics are limited to landscaping from what I'm saying. Is there something else that we're missing? I know you said this is landscaping only, but there's signage, nothing in particular that improves the appearance.
As part of this landscape package, no. Of course, this is a rural highway.
Yeah.
It's not really an urban highway, and where a lot of the detailed specialty pavements and things would be. I mean, you could do some things, but that's not the focus of this project, and I don't think the focus of this corridor either.
Right. And how
Yeah,
wide
and-
is? I was going
Sorry.
to ask, how wide is the mixed use path?
Is it 10 or 8? I can't remember.
It's
It's either 8
not-
foot or 10 foot.
I think it's
Yeah.
8 feet.
Yeah, I think it is
Yeah.
8 feet.
Eight is, I mean, I know it's a wide open area and there's a lot of visibility, but 8 feet, even in urban areas, mostly what we see are 10 feet, not 8 feet.
Well, when
I think it is actually 10 feet. I'm measuring
know.
it here.
It didn't seem that wide to me. I was out there, I was working actually on a case for the county, and I saw a horse and buggy on the path. Because the road it's not a rural road, a rural highway. It's
Well, there is a lot of trucks that use
Yes.
this road.
huge.
A lot.
Yep. So, let's see. Anab, did you have any comment? No, he's connecting. Anab, you're on mute.
Yes, I'm back now. Thanks.
Okay. So did you have any comments or questions?
The one comment I had was about the lighting. I know I understand it's not part of this project. However, if someone could look into you know, any future upgrade to the project, because I would hate to have, you know, this beautiful project that we cannot use after sundown, you know, and I could see a safety concern if there is no lighting, you know, for,
There is street lighting. There's just no aesthetic lighting at all. I mean, no uplighting for anything, but it certainly meets all the criteria, FDOT safety criteria for lighting. That's for sure.
Right, we're not talking about street lighting, we're talking about uplighting or, you know, highlighting the landscape, so.
Right.
Um,
so if that's covered, then that's great. I mean, hopefully we'll get the uplighting, you know, sometime in the future also, but that's good then. No other comment.
okay, thank you. I just, you know, I mean, it's not a very big budget. It's less than $1 million for three and a half or 3 2/3 miles. So that's what, you know, 280 or 90, you know, 280 grand a mile, I guess. It's not a lot. So, but how many trees does that buy us for the whole quarter? I'm just curious, trees and pine and palms. What
The total number. That's a good one.
So while Harry, this is Kevin Schott again, while Harry's kind of taking a look at that, if you would, Harry, if you have a means to at the moment.
Yeah, actually it's
they-
1,001 trees.
1,000 trees. And just to touch base on the budget and landscape projects in general with DOT, it's not by my choice, but generally speaking, the way that DOT approaches landscape is, again, mostly an afterthought, not included in much of the planning. No lighting, or, I mean, they do everything in their power, from my experience working here, to eliminate everything you can think of from landscape projects other than landscape. And by landscape, I mean trees and sometimes shrubs. Oh, now I kind of lost track of what I was thinking of the second point. But the budget. The budgets are generated off of the 5-year work program, and they're not necessarily would be required as in necessary or even appropriate budget for the landscaping for that length of roadway. It's a combination of what would be how that weighs against the annual budget in that particular fiscal year, which doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the roadway, the subject roadway at hand. It's an imbalance in the system at the way that the DOT looks at allocating the annual 1.5% budget for landscape projects. It's a little more technical in nature that I would like to get into in this meeting, as far as how that works out with the work program and the annual 1.5. But again, 1.5% budget for landscape, to be more specific. But at any point, again, if any TARC member wishes to contact me to receive more information, I am more than grateful and more than happy to have a conversation and share that with you.
okay, thank you. Any other comments? Okay, hearing none. I thank everyone for participating today. Our next workshop will be October 20th, unless there's some act of God and we, you know, meet in person. It'll still be a Zoom meeting, as I said, on the 20th of October. All righty. Okay. If nothing else, I'm going to adjourn the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Take care, everyone. Thank you so much.